Hi friends, so in this video we will try to learn a simple trick to remember the name of the US presidents and their ordering. Actually, we already know the name of most of the US presidents, but we generally mess up with the ordering. So we will learn a basic trick, simple trick, and see how it goes. So the basically what we will do here is I will start with a short story, and within each sentence we'll try to map some of the words with the US president names. So the words in the sentences will be in the same order as the US president order in the history. So let's start with our story. The story goes like this. George was washing clothes of John Adams in the Thomas train with his mad son James Monroe. To check if he is working properly, John Adams quietly came with Jack and his son Andrew while drinking martini. So basically what you have to do, you have to read the sentence couple of times and try to get an idea, make a picture in your mind of what is happening of this, or make a kind of a storyline so that this sentences stays with you, they sets in your mind, and then you can easily get the name of the presidents. So let's read the sentence once again. While reading now, just focus on the words in red. George was washing clothes of John Adams in the Thomas train with his mad son James Monroe. To check if he is working, John Adams quietly came with Jack and his son Andrew while drinking martini. Now let's see the name of all the presidents we have covered in this one sentence. So see, the first two words, George and washing, they will map to George Washington. John Adams maps to John Adams. With the Thomas train, it will remind you of Thomas Jefferson. Madison is James Madison. James Monroe is James Monroe. John Adams quietly will remind you of John Quincy Adams. And Jack and son Andrew will remind you of Andrew Jackson. And with the martini, you will map it with Martin Van Buren. So you have seen that with just one sentence, you remember the name of the first 8 presidents of American history. So let's move to the next sentence. Before going into the sentence, read the sentence, just two things I want to make sure here, two word meanings basically. The first word is tiler. So the tiler means builder or the person who lays tiles. And the word Fillmore means very famous. More means very and Phil is famous. So word Fillmore means very famous. So wherever we will read the word very famous, we have to link that word to the word Fillmore. Now read the sentence. We have seen that George Washington was washing the clothes in the train, Thomas train actually. So we are assuming that since they were in the train and the train was going somewhere. So now let's see the train comes to a station, Harrison Station, and make a stop there. So see, on the Harrison Station, he met with a tailor named Knox Polk, who was also a tailor, very famous for piercing a hole through the Buchanan with Abraham Lincoln. Once again, the same technique, just focus on the words on the right and read the sentence. On the Harrison Station, he met with a tailor named Knox Polk, who was also a tailor very famous for piercing a hole throw the butcher, Buchanan with Abraham Lincoln. Now let's see the name of the presidents we have learned here. Harrison will map to William Henry Harrison. Tyler will be the reference for John Tyler. Knox Polk will be James Knox Polk. With the Taylor, it will rhyme with Zachary Taylor. Very famous will remind you of Fillmore, the word we have seen in the start, that Fillmore means very famous. So very famous will remind you of Millard Fillmore. Piercing is Franklin Pierce. Buchanan is James Buchanan, and Abraham Lincoln is Abraham Lincoln. So we have the name and order of the next 8 presidents here as well. So now move to the next sentence. One point to note here is that the word Roosevelt. The word Roosevelt means from Rose Field or of the Rose Fields. So please keep in mind that wherever we will encounter the word Roosevelt or the word Rose Fields, we will use them interchangeably. So from Rose Fields will refer to the word Roosevelt. So the next part of the story goes like this. Andrew Johnson issued the US grant and gave Rutherford and Garfield to Arthur, who already had Cleveland. Benjamin from Cleveland went onto the top of Mount McKinley, where the odor was coming from Rosefield. Now look at the next 10 presidents. Just focus on the words on right. Andrew Johnson issued the US grant and gave Rutherford and Garfield to Arthur, who already had Cleveland. Benjamin from Cleveland went on to the top of Mount McKinley, where the odor was coming from Rosefield. Now let's check the name of the presidents we have covered here. Andrew Jackson will map to Andrew Jackson. Oh, Andrew Johnson actually, sorry. Andrew Johnson will map to Andrew Johnson. US Grant will refer to Ulysses S. Grant. Rutherford will be Rutherford B. Hayes. Garfield will be James Garfield. Arthur will refer to Chester A. Arthur. Cleveland will be Grover Cleveland. Benjamin will map to Benjamin Harrison. Cleveland again will be the same Grover Cleveland. Mount McKinley will remind you of William McKinley. And the order from Roosevelt will be Theodore Roosevelt. So see, the order will remind you of Theodore, and the Roosevelt will map to Roosevelt. So next sentence. You have seen that the Benjamin have reached to the top of the Mount McKinley in the previous sentence. So now if you see that William took the draft through the woody rose and barren lands and hardly reached the cool ridge of Hoover Dam. Frankly, he saw Rosefield there as well. So he searched for Truman and decided to go elsewhere for shower. So now look at the next 8 presidents and just focus on the words on right. William took the draft through the woody rose and barren lands and hardly reached the cool ridge of Hoover Dam. Frankly, he saw Rosefield there as well. So he searched for Truman and decided to go elsewhere for shower. The word draft here actually refers to the word, it's a raft with a tent. So it's not a wrong word, it's a correct word, which means a raft which can be converted to a tent, a raft which can be converted to a tent when needed. So now let's see the name of the presidents here. William Raft will refer to William H. Taft. Woody Rose will refer to Woodrow Wilson. Barron and Hardley will remind you of Warren Harding's. Coolidge will be Calvin Coolidge. Hoover will be Herbert Hoover. Franklin Roosevelt will remind you of Franklin, and the Roosevelt we refer wherever we see the Roosevelt, we will interchange it with Roosevelt. So Franklin Roosevelt will be Franklin Roosevelt. Truman will be Harry S. Truman, and Eisenhower will be Eisenhower. So Eisenhower will map to Eisenhower, so it will be Dwight D. Eisenhower. Now let's move to the last sentence of our story and what we have here. Kennedy went to London to meet Nixon, who was driving a Ford wearing Carter clothes with Reagan in the bush. Clinton walked from the bushes back to meet Obama and trumps the game. So let's see what we have here. Kennedy went to London to meet Nixon, who was driving a Ford wearing Carter clothes with Reagan in the bush. Clinton walked from the bush back to meet Obama and trumps the game. So let's see the name of the presidents we have got here. Kennedy will map to John F. Kennedy. London will be Lyndon B. Johnson. Nixon will remind you of Richard M. Nixon. Ford will map to Gerald R. Ford. Carter will map to James Carter. Reagan will be Ronald Reagan. Bush will be George Bush. Clinton will be Bill Clinton or William Clinton. Walk and Bush will remind you of George Walker Bush. Actually, George Walker Bush is George Bush Jr., who is the son of George Bush, who was the previous president. Back and Obama will remind you of Barack Obama, and Trump's will be Donald J. Trump. So we have seen that in these 5 sentences, we have almost covered all the 45 presidents of US from 1789 till 2020. So just do one quick revision and I think we will be all set. So first I will read the sentences and then we'll look into the names. George was washing clothes of John Adams in the Thomas train with his mad son James Monroe. To check if he is working properly, John Adams quietly came with a Jack and son Andrew while drinking martini. So the word of our importance are here: George washing, John Adams, Thomas Train, Madson, James Monroe, John Adams, quietly, Jack and son Andrew, martini. And they will map to the president names as George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren. The important point here is like John Quincy Adams is the son of the John Adams, the second president. So John Quincy Adams is John Adams Jr., actually, who was son of the John Adams. On the Harrison station, he met with a tailor named Knox Polk, who was also a tailor, very famous for piercing a hole through the butcher with Abraham Lincoln. So the word of interest here are Harrison, Tyler, Knox Polk, Taylor, very famous, piercing, Butcher Buchanan, Abraham Lincoln. And the name of the corresponding presidents are William Henry Harrison, John Tyler, James Knox Polk, Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, James Buchanan, Abraham Lincoln. Next sentence is Andrew Johnson issued the US grant and gave Rutherford and Garfield to Arthur, who already had Cleveland. Benjamin from Cleveland went on to the top of Mount McKinley, where the odor of was coming from Roosevelt. So the word of interest are Andrew Johnson, U.S. Grant, Rutherford, Garfield, Arthur, Cleveland, Benjamin, Cleveland, Mount McKinley, the order from Roosevelt. And the name of the presidents are Andrew Johnson, Ulysses S. Grant, Rutherford B. Hayes, James Garfield, Chester A. Arthur, Grover Cleveland, Benjamin Harrison. Again, the Grover Cleveland. The important point here is that Grover Cleveland is the only president who was made president twice of US and not in the consecutive terms. So all the presidents who have served for 8 years, more than 4 years actually, it was always the consecutive terms. But Grover Cleveland was the only president who served twice, but the terms were different. They were not the consecutive terms. William McKinley and Theodore Roosevelt. Then we have the last 4 sentences like William took the raft through the woody rose and barren lands and hardly reached the cool rays of Hoover Dam. Frankly, he saw Roosevelt there as well, so he searched for Truman and decided to go elsewhere for shower. The word of interest are William Raft, Woody Rose, Barron, Hardly, Coolidge, Hoover, Frankly Roosevelt, Truman, else Shower. And the presidents are William H. Taft, Woodrow Wilson, Warren Harding, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Franklin Roosevelt, Harry S. Truman, Dwight D. Eisenhower. Now let's move to the last sentence, which is Kennedy went to London to meet Nixon, who was driving a Ford wearing Carter clothes with Reagan in the bush. Clinton walked from the bush back to meet Obama and trumps the game. So the word of interest here are Kennedy, London, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, walk Bush, back Obama, trumps. And the name of the presidents are John F. Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson, Richard M. Nixon, Gerald R. Ford, James Carter, Ronald Reagan, George Bush, William Clinton, George Walker Bush, Barack Obama, and Donald J. Trump. So friends, like you have seen here, it's very simple to remember the name of all the presidents. It's just that you have to remember just simple 5 sentences and remember them as a story. Read them a couple of times so that these sentences stays with you and the name of the presidents are set in your brain. So goodbye. And if you like our channel, don't forget to subscribe the channel. Time to learn, and keep posting me and in the comments please post how you like our video. Thank you.